could withstand the threat of significant and crippling financial sanctions. They may not have a former employer or a current employer who's in a position to mount a vigorous and costly defense. I think it's a very dangerous period for journalism. The Press Act would close the legal gap in the system, this ambiguity that I've had to deal with for 2 years. And I want to emphasize, this is not about a single journalist. It's not about a single story. It's not about a single network. What happens in my case, the passage of the Press Act, is going to impact every journalist working in this room, and it's going to impact every journalist in the United States and for the next generation to come. If there's anything I can accomplish in my career as a journalist, it's going to be getting this over the finish line. I feel this with every core of my being.
Thank you, Ms.
The deeper question behind this hearing is whether Catherine Herridge's firing reflected political pressure, or a corporate decision that critics are interpreting through a partisan lens. Herridge was laid off by CBS in February 2024 during broader cuts at Paramount. Her dismissal came shortly after special counsel Robert Hur released his report on President Biden, but timing alone does not prove retaliation. CBS has not publicly established that her Hunter Biden reporting caused the decision. Still, House Republicans had reason to investigate because Herridge's reporting had reportedly faced internal tension, and CBS initially retained her confidential files after her termination. Herridge's legal battle is separate from Hunter Biden. A federal judge held her in civil contempt for refusing to identify sources connected to a 2017 report involving scientist Yenping Chin and imposed an $800 per day fine. The strongest counterargument is that courts must protect plaintiffs' legal rights, and CBS may have made a business decision, not a political one. My conclusion: the firing remains unproven as political retaliation, but the press freedom concerns are real. What do you think? Like, subscribe, and share your opinion for more bold commentary.
Thank the ranking member. I want to thank her and my Democrat colleagues for working with us to try to move this along. I believe we're going to be able to finish the hearing without breaking. The Prime Minister has not yet started speaking. So we're going to proceed, and then we hopefully won't have to break and come back for everybody's benefit. Ms. Herridge, could you just quickly, for the benefit of the committee, articulate the awards and honors you received in carrying out your profession?
Wow, that's a little embarrassing. But
no, it's important.
I've always tried to stay in the background. I'm so proud of the work that we did at CBS News. I was part of an Emmy-winning team. I was also nominated for investigative Emmys, primarily for the work that we did revealing the toxic exposure of our veterans, specifically a group who were based in Uzbekistan in K2. This was the launching off pad for classified operations into Afghanistan. We also did reporting that was a catalyst for legislation, the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, which has opened new opportunities and benefits and payments for 1 million veterans and civilians. This was real impact reporting, and it was accountability reporting on both the left and the right.
And you mentioned Emmys, other awards. In other words, is there any indication of, negative conduct in carrying out your profession, right? I mean, you've been getting awards. Nothing would indicate that there was a failure to perform your duties, failure to do your job competently, correct?
Congressman, I think what you're asking me is whether I was terminated for poor performance. I don't believe that my record would reflect that. I don't know what factors the CBS News executives considered when they terminated my position. There was tension over the Hunter Biden reporting and the Biden administration, but I can't say for sure why I was let go.
And you mentioned that tension. You had been one of the reporters, certainly in what we might define as the mainstream media, that was focusing intently on the Hunter Biden laptop, on the various facts surrounding the Biden family and the flow of money and all of the things involved with that. Is that correct?
That is correct. For the full picture, though, I was also the reporter at CBS News who obtained the audio tape of former President Trump, apparently bragging about the Iran classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, and I also exposed how 50 soldiers were denied the Purple Heart under the Trump administration in an effort to de-escalate after a ballistic missile attack in Iran. I'm someone who calls balls and strikes, Congressman. I just follow the facts where they lead. That has always been my calling card.
And when CBS let you go, was it around the time of you calling out the Trump administration, or around the time that you were pursuing more of the Hunter Biden?
I was let go a few days after the special counsel Robert Hur report into President Biden's handling of classified information.
At the same time, all that's going on, you're managing the issue with Fox and the reality that you are being held in contempt. And you've touched on it, and I don't want to repeat it too much, but it's really important that, for the record, you are in fact being held in contempt by a court at the tune of $800 a day, which, as you've noticed, has thankfully been stayed pending appeal. That is correct?
That is correct. And I'd also like to emphasize, Congressman, that I have total respect for the legal process. My case is in front of the appellate court, and so I'm limited in what I can say. I reject characterizations that the court is being heavy-handed. It's well within their discretion to levy these fines. I was making the point that for many journalists, facing fines of that significance would be insurmountable, and they'd have to make a hard choice about whether to protect their sources.
In closing, could you just reiterate the extent of your belief of what this means for other journalists? And you alluded to before, smaller journalists without the protection of the bubble of the kind of corporate structure that you've got with Fox backing you up from your previous reporting.
I just don't think many journalists could withstand the threat of significant and crippling financial sanctions. They may not have a former employer or a current employer who's in a position to mount a vigorous and costly defense. I think it's a very dangerous period for journalism. The Press Act would close the legal gap in the system, this ambiguity that I've had to deal with for 2 years. And I want to emphasize, this is not about a single journalist. It's not about a single story. It's not about a single network. What happens in my case, the passage of the Press Act, is going to impact every journalist working in this room, and it's going to impact every journalist in the United States and for the next generation to come. If there's anything I can accomplish in my career as a journalist, it's going to be getting this over the finish line. I feel this with every core of my being.
Thank you, Ms. Herridge. I do want to acknowledge that the gentleman from North Carolina has been waiting here patiently throughout the hearing. He indicated he didn't necessarily have a lot of questions, but I do want to give him a moment here at close before we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think